Greetings YouTube, welcome to the Blue Corner. In this video we're going to be going over some Cardfight Vanguard OCG results. Yes, it has been quite some time since we did one of these things. In fact, this will be the first one I've done for the month, and that's just because there really hasn't been much to cover. The first weekend of December didn't actually have anything, and last weekend only had one tournament, and I didn't want to make a video on just one tournament, so I figured I'd just lump that in with this past weekend's results and just carve it all in one fell swoop. So here we are, and things to note in this one is that the first tournament we'll be going over is after the release of the Oracle Think Tank and Narukami Trial Decks, and then after that we're going to be getting into the set 3 stuff. And of course, as usual, it is the first weekend, which is when people are most likely to try out new decks just to see how they work, how they fare, and then following weeks is when people will start dropping some of these decks and going back to the ones that they feel the most comfortable with or think will give them the best chance to win. So as a result, take these decks here with a bit of grain of salt, especially since we're also going to be covering only teams, because once again, single format is a myth. And that's pretty much all the things I really need to go over. I know some ARGs happened in North America this past weekend, but I don't believe the results have been posted up online. So I really only have to go off of what other people have to say as far as what was played and what topped of these things. I know Neo Nectar was played in numbers at one of the ARGs, and I believe it topped as well without Sunlight Garden Guide, no less. So that is very much a thing. So that being said, let's get into this. So first things first is the Inari VGCS. This is the tournament held pre-Set 3 but post-Trial Deck release. And for our first place team, we got Great Nature, Dimension Police, Angel Feather. Second place is Angel Feather, Neo Nectar, Oracle Think Tank. Third place, Angels, Muras, Neo Nectar. And fourth place, Great Nature, Neo Nectar, Angel Feather. The Angel Feather list is not known. And as far as the clan numbers go, Angels were the most played deck, followed by Neo Nectar, followed by Great Nature, and Oracle Think Tank, which saw the same amount of play as Gear Chronicle. Murakuma was 6, then Dimension Police at 5, Kagero, Tachikaze, and Genesis at 4 apiece, and then 2 Shadows, 2 Royals, 1 Mega Colony, and 1 Spikes. So sadly, no brave people playing just only the Naru Trial Deck in here. They know that alone is not going to be enough. Only 4 Genesis though. Like, that deck has really started to drop off like I figured it was going to, as Himiko is a nuts card. There is no denying that, but the rest of the deck I just feel is not as up to par, and as a result, well, I feel what's ultimately going to happen with Genesis is that it's just going to be a really solid, albeit sacky tier 2 deck, very much in the same vein that Dimension Police was a couple formats ago, and then eventually it's just going to get pushed out. Like, it does really feel very Dimension Police-esque in how if it high rolls and gets its main play off, it has a reasonable chance of winning, but if it doesn't do that, or if it fails to kill the opponent with its major turn, then it just kind of like starts falling behind, especially when you're up against a more consistent deck such as Neo Nectar, Oracle Think Tank, or Angel Feather. So that's my little piece on Genesis and where I feel like it stands now. And Gear Chronicle is just not very consistent. In Great Nature, it's seeing play, but that's because Japan really loves their gacha, but as we're going to see with the later tournaments, that's not going to last for long. So with that being said, let's get into this. So we have the Great Nature deck list from the first place team. This one is not playing the Hamsuke Grade 3. Then we have the Dimension Police and Angel Feather. Then for the second place team, we've got Angel Feather, Neo Nectar, and Oracle Think Tank. So what this guy did with his trial deck is he swapped out Mizuno Hame and all but one copy of his bird, as well as cut some Circle Maguses in order to fit in the Crane, Battle Sister Orange Jet, 4 copies of Rectangle Magus, and 4 copies of Kuor Magus. He's only playing 1 copy of Tort, and he's still playing the 10 grade 3s that you know and loathe as far as Oracle Think Tank goes, which doesn't surprise me. I honestly feel like the basic OTT deck list that we know and hate, plus some of the new cards, is going to be the better build compared to Witch and Magus. Then for our other teams, we've got Angel Feather, Murakumo, Neo Nectar, and finally, Great Nature. This one is playing the Hamsuke Grade 3 and Neo Nectar. So that's it for pre-Set 3 format. The Oracle Think Tank Child deck does do enough stuff to at least make the deck a bit more relevant, but it's going to be Set 3 that really helps them out. Up next is the 193 VGCS, which is, again, teams best of 1, standard format, and First place is Angel Feather, Narukami going 6-1, and Oracle Think Tank going 4-3. Second place is Oracle Think Tank going 5-2, Angel Feather, Neo Nectar. Third place is Angel Feather, Royal Paladin going 3-4, Narukami. And fourth place is Oracle Think Tank, Kagero, and Gold Paladin. As far as the clan distribution goes, Oracle Think Tank was the most played deck, with Royal Paladin and Angel Feather tied for the second most played. After that, you have Gold Paladin, then Narukami as the played decks after that, then Neo Nectar, and then after that you get people playing like 4 or less, such as Great Nature. Wow. When I said that their numbers were going to go down, yeah, this is what I meant. I figured that once Narukami and Gold Paladin got their stuff, that people would be jumping ship from Great Nature to one of those two clans. And those two, alongside Murakumo, I think are going to be the 3 flag bearers for what a Axel clan player would want to play at this time. You've got multi-attack. Well, yeah, Golds have multi-attack, and Ravenhair Dazzle can just be a flat-out bomb against some decks. Murakumo's got that control aspect, and Narukami's got that field board control aspect, and other things. So that's that, and then what else is there really to note? Oh, right. So no, we'll talk about Nubatama after the next tournament. So let's take a look at these deck lists, shall we? So first up, we've got Angel Feather. Then this is the Narukami that went 6-1. Yeah, 6-1. I'm going to talk about the Nara lists later on in the video because I do have things I want to say about these. And then you've got your Oracle Think Tank list. This guy went 4-3, so not really an impressive record, but he probably went up against a decent amount of Axel and just decks that OTT can struggle against. Neo Nectar can rush this deck down fairly early game if they see the Sunlight Garden Guide plus 1 or 2 token makers. But this guy is playing standard OTT with some of the new cards, so CEO, Imperial, Deer, Kuor, Rectangle, the Crane, Oranget, and 3 Tetramagus. So this guy's not playing Pentagonal Magus, which doesn't surprise me. I honestly feel like Pentagonal was... we kind of overreacted to when we saw the card, as on paper it seems really bonkers, but you have to take into the context of what you would be cutting out to fit it in, and what you have to play to make it more optimal, because that discard 5 is pretty hefty. And if you have... like, you have to have Magus rearguards in the front row, and the Magus Grey 2s aren't really that great outside of Rectangle. Like, Rhombus is not really that great. And like, you're not actually going plus as opposed to just chaining Imperial Daughters or chaining Amaterasus. And Pentagonal Magus's finishing power, while intimidating, I don't feel like it's actually any better than Deer. If anything, I think Deer is still the better finisher card for the deck, because even though you might whiff with those crits, and Tetramagus actually helps fix you with that regard, you're still getting a plus 10k to your entire board for an extra 60k power that your opponent has to account for, which, even if you don't see the crits, that's still going to be enough to potentially kill your opponent there. And like, I just feel like this build of Oracle Think Tank, the one with Imperial Daughter, CEO, and then some of the new cards from the Child deck, and Tetramagus from the core set is just the best build to play, followed by Magus, followed by Witches. And as such, even though Pentagonal Magus is probably going to be the most expensive VR coming out of this set, I think it's going to be the least played VR out of here. And then you've got... whoops, that's the third place team, so... yes. Is that what it is? Yeah, that's the third place team. So, this one went 5-2, and I actually like this build more for what it does. So he's also playing standard plus new stuff, and he decided to not run Tetramagus at all, and instead he raised his Farfell and Circle Magus concept, and he's also playing the Battle Sister Grey 2 that on place, I believe it's Soul Blast 1, look at the top 5 or 7 cards of your deck, it's one of those two, for a Grade 3 and add it to your hand, and you shuffle the rest of those 5 cards, 5 or 7, whatever, you shuffle them and put them in the bottom of your deck just like you would Deer. So it's just a Grade 3 searcher on place. So it's more consistency. It helps you get to your Daughters and CEOs and Deers. He's also playing the one of Battle Sister Oranget and the one of Crane. And yeah, so basically Luckbird and Mizuno Hame are being cut out entirely. And yeah, you're just playing the Crane, Oranget, and Tetra. And in this case, the Battle Sister. I also like the fact that this one is not as screwed over by CB denial as the other build, because Tetramagus and Rectangle Magus both eat Counterblast, as well as Imperial Daughter and CO. So if you're like using a bunch of those cards in a single turn, that's gonna burn you out pretty quickly, and this build's not playing any countercharging. Where at least the other build is not playing any countercharging. This is not playing countercharging either, but it's not as screwed over by CB denial. So there's that. Then we've got this Angel Feather, and we've got this Neo Nectar deck list. Then, if we move down a bit further, we have our third place team, which consists of Angel Feather, Royal Paladin. So this is the one Royal Paladin appearance at this tournament, and unfortunately, this guy went 3 and 4. Even with the new stuff, I don't think Royals actually get a whole lot better. They're more consistent at their whole beatdown game, but I don't believe that they're a better Force Clan than Neo Nectar is. And I will say this deck list looks pretty awfully beautiful. Like, he's maxed out as much as he possibly could. Yep. All except for the grade 2, except for his Blaster Blade. Like, he's playing the other art trial deck one, which, truth be told, I think is the best art for Blaster Blade regardless. So even though he's not playing IMRs or SP Blaster Blades, he's got the good art. So that's already much better. And then, boom, our third place Narukami, the Narukami player from the third place team. I like this build too. Like, there's merits to both of the builds all 3 builds that we're going to see today. And then our fourth place team consists of Oracle Think Tank. So this is the one build that actually did play Hexagonal and Pentagonal Magus. And I don't know what this guy's record was, but I imagine it wasn't really that great compared to some of the other ones. Like, I don't think the Pentagonal really meshes that well with this, and the other builds of Oracle Think Tank we've seen so far just have overall more offensive power and more finishing power, whereas this one is just not as good. Like, I just don't think the Magus deck as a whole is just better than the other ones. Then you've got this random Kagero deck that somehow managed to get in here, and then we have your one Gold Paladin deck list, which is the Azel build with Sagramore. Man, this guy is playing 11 grade 3s. Damn, such balls. Now, he's got his deck maxed out, actually, because those Vivians are also a speed. I think those are Wonder... let's see. Wonder Azels and... what's his face? Bowman's, yes. So yeah, this guy's playing the Azel deck, which doesn't surprise me. Like, the Azel deck, I feel, is still very Glass Cannon-esque. However, when it goes off, chances are you're probably going to just kill your opponent, because if they play into it and give you the 2 CB on your grade 2 turn, you can just flat out dunk them. Like, this deck's ability to just smash you in the face if it sees its pieces is so potent that I almost feel like it really might be worth it to just simply ride and pass against their grade 1 Vanguard and don't give them the counterblast. Yes, you're losing out on a drive, which will mean less shield to deal with their rush turn, but on the other hand, though, that means you're not dealing with them having Raven-haired Azel with 2 Axel Circles and Twin Drive and the ability to just potentially kick your teeth in. So, that's just my opinion on that little matter. And then lastly, we've got the Cosmo VGCS standard format, 33 teams. First place, Neo Nectar, Great Gear Chronicle, Angel Feather. Second place, Royal Paladin, Narukami, going 6 and 2 in Genesis. Third place, Royal Paladin, Oracle Think Tank, going 5 and 3 in Angel Feather. And let's see, we've got your standard Neo Nectar, your Gear Chronicle, Angel Feather, then your Royal Paladin. This one is also playing the Blaster build, Narukami, Genesis. I should note that this guy is once again playing the 6 crit, 6 draw, and a starter build. Then you've got your Royal Paladin, your Oracle Think Tank, also not playing Pentagonal Magus, and lastly, here's your Angel Feather deck list. So that is that. I do need to point out, as far as the numbers go for this tournament, that Royals were the most played clan at 14, followed by Narukami, and then you have Gold Paladin, Neo Nectar, and Angel Feather all tied for 10. Genesis and Oracle Think Tank were tied at 7. Nubatama had 6, which is much higher numbers compared to the previous tournament. Then you have Gear Chronicle at 5, Great Nature at 4. Their numbers are, of course, down because of Gold Paladin getting more stuff, and Narukami also coming to the mix. Dimension Police at 3, Pale Moon at 3, Spikes and Kagero and Shadows at 2, and then Aquaforce, Murakumo, and Tachikaze at 1 apiece. So, What can we take away from this? Well, Oracle Think Tank is still a thing. However, unlike when we first saw this support being announced, it's not the tier 0 monster that we were fearing that it would have been, because now we have more clans in the game that match up well into it. Like Oracle Think Tank doesn't really have good matchups against Murakumo, and I'm going to say that now Gold Paladin has a much better time against it, and Narukami is also a difficult matchup for them to deal with. Like, decks that are able to spit out 4 to 5 columns of sizable numbers is going to be difficult for Protect decks such as Oracle Think Tank and Angel Feather to deal with. Angel Feather, on that note, and Neo Nectar are not going away. I feel like those are still the 2 best decks of the format. However, Nubatama should match up well into Neo Nectar if it's able to, and Angel Feather, I feel like I do believe that Naros have a reasonable chance against them. I don't know about how Golds deal against Angel Feather. That deck does, Angels play very slowly. They want to stall the game out and eventually kill you with the hospital. So I feel like that would give Golds the time to set up a Raven-haired Azel with the Blonde Azel in the soul, and they just keep swinging face with Raven-haired Azel skill, and as well as like multiple big rearguard lanes. What else can I really say here? Royal Paladin, despite getting its new stuff and being still one of the most played clans, is not doing that hot, which doesn't surprise me. They're more consistent with the beatdown, but I don't think their other problems really got shored up any. Protect clans, lack of countercharging, that whole deal. And then, let's see, Genesis. Like I said before, I feel like this is a deck that's just ultimately going to die out and only see Fringe play, much like Dimension plays before, because of how high rolly its playstyle ultimately is. Gear Chronicle, it tops every once in a while. Great Nature, I think, is just going to see this amount of play from here on out. And then, let's see, Shadow Paladin, they're still seeing not a lot of play. Neo Nectar kind of pushed them out. And I feel like, at least on paper, the Narukami matchup is awkward for them just because of Phoenix. Same for Kagro. Kagro kind of just got pushed out as a whole. And Spikes. Spikes is still very good, but as far as like a good force clan in the format goes, Neo Nectar is obviously the better choice. And then there's Nubatama. So, as you might have noticed, Nubas didn't appear in any of these top cut lists at all. And that's a bit alarming because, as I said at the beginning of the video, this is week 1, which is when people are most likely going to be playing new stuff because of, shiny syndrome, and Nubas weren't able to get in there. And this means that come next week, they might not also get in, as people will think, oh, this wasn't able to compete in the format. I'm just going to move on to a deck that I know is able to function, like Oracle Think Tank or Neo Nectar, and it's not looking good for them. Maybe they'll have a resurgence next week. I don't know. I'm just saying that right now, things are not looking very good for them. It also doesn't help that they got the Nova Grappler treatment with their support being split into 2 decks, Magatsu and the discard build. Neither of which really meshes that well together, but you kind of have to play some of them with each other because of being able to fully build a Magatsu or being able to fully build a discard build. The discard deck does have a really disgusting card in the form of the Crow. However, it also can't really make big lines, and as a result, it has a hard time actually killing your opponent because neither of these 2 builds actually have crit pressure, and so their Vanguards are not that threatening. You can either no-guard their Vanguard if you're at low damage, or just, if they don't have a booster down, you can just throw your trigger and 2-pass them, or no-pass them if you're a force deck. And as far as the Magatsu deck goes, it's able to get some numbers, and it's able to get some multi-attacks off, but it also doesn't really have any, like, crit pressure. The Magatsu needs you to be on your 2nd grade 3 ride in order to actually do this stuff. And both builds don't actually build their own advantage. They're just like doing break-evens or negs. So against a deck that's able to just out-resource them, like I feel like against Angel Feather or Oracle Think Tank, they're going to struggle. In theory, they should be able to crush Neo Nectar because of the combination of Kujikiri Kongo and how bouncing tokens makes them just go away, so Neo Nectar ends up like negging. But I feel like a smart Neo player is just going to keep their tokens off the board against Nubas. So I I just can't help but feel very whelmed by them. Like, if Narukami can be considered to be a mediocre deck, then I feel like Nubatama is very underwhelming. Like, Naru's I would place at very high tier 2, Nuba's would be very low tier 2 or high tier 3. As, like, that's just how I honestly feel regards to them. And then before we end this, let's talk about the Narukami lists that popped up, because obviously I have opinions on these. So, the thing to note about these 3 lists is what they're not playing, and that is none of them are playing Helena, Regina, the grade 1 that restands, or Dusty Plasma Dragon. They're also not playing Excess Streak Dragon, and I'm honestly not surprised. Like, these 3 lists are only playing the grade 1s that actually matter, which are Ricky, Demolition Dragon, and Phoenix. If you're not playing more than 3... Like, if you're not playing 4 Phoenix in your deck, I feel like you're doing it wrong. Like, Phoenix is your best grade 1 by far. It's a reoccurring attacker. You can Garbage it, it comes back. You can Soul Blast it, it comes back. You can throw it up, swing with it, they kill it, it comes back. You want these as soon as possible. You want them in circulation as often as possible. And when your opponent's at 5 damage, you can also multi-attack with them in Drill Dragon. Seriously, if you're not playing 4 Phoenix, I don't know what's wrong. Same for Demolition Dragon. You need to see this guy early too, because he is a good card going second as you get to draw things, and he's also an 11k booster if you can keep your opponent's front row clear. Ricky is the least useful of these grade 1s, but it's still better than the other ones, as Helena's Soul Blast to countercharge is just too situational. The fact that you need to have no counterblast face up when you're trying to get that countercharge off makes it just really awkward to use, and as a result, I'm not surprised these guys aren't playing it. As far as the number of grade 1s you play, seems like the number is either 12 or 11. I'm currently on 12 myself because I just really fear not seeing a grade 1 after my draw and redraw. I mean, that's just my own, like, bad luck coming in against me at times. And as far as the whole Dusty Plasma versus Thunderstorm Dragoon, because they're all playing Thunderstorm Dragoon in here, and this guy's also playing the 12k vanilla, but the other ones are not. Dusty Plasma Dragon can technically make bigger lines, however, you need to actually kill things or bind things in order for that to work. And if you can't actually kill something because your opponent CB starved you, or there's nothing in the front row to kill, then it's just a 9k vanilla versus Thunderstorm Dragoon is an easier to achieve 14 attacker, 24 on Axel. And a Dusty Plasma Dragon on Axel is going to be 24 regardless, so you might as well run the card that's going to work more frequently, more often. They're also maxed out on Death Scythe and Reckless Dragon, which also doesn't surprise me. Death Scythe's removal effect is costly, I will give it that. However, he's still a pretty much unconditional 14 attacker, 24 beater on Axel, and that's why you're playing it. As far as removal goes, you've got Reckless Dragon and Dactonic Stinger Dragon, as well as Drill Dragon to keep your opponent's front row clear. Death Scythe is just there in case you need to be able to, if you don't, say, have more than enough counterblast to be able to do that. It's like, and that's why they're also not playing Helena's. If they need to remove more cards off the front row, they can just simply use Death Scythe and kill a thing, and then use your other counterblast for Drill Dragon in the potential restand. Another thing to note is that 2 of these builds are playing Vermilion as a 1 or a 2 of. This guy's playing 2, but that's because he's playing 11 grade 1s. This one is playing 12 grade 1s, and he's therefore playing only 1 Vermilion. I understand why they're doing it. It's a nice little niche tech option for XL decks such as Gold Paladin, Murakumo, and Great Nature. If you're in a position where it would simply cost you way too much to clear your opponent's front row, like you have to use Stinger, Drill, Death Scythe, and a Reckless Dragon just to keep their front row empty, then you might as well just use Vermilion's Counterblast 2 and sweep the front row. You're definitely not using him for his extra crit gain. That skill's not going to come up that often. If you were using Vermilion for the 5k and the crit skill, you might as well just go in the Drill Dragon instead. No, you're playing Vermilion to keep your opponent's front row empty so that you can turn on your Thunderstorm Dragoons, your Death Scythes, and your Reckless Dragons, and your Demolition Dragons. And I do like how this list was playing the 12k vanilla grade 2, as it does give you some early form of ride defense, but I can also see why they just cut it out entirely and are playing the Thunderstorm Dragoons. This guy's playing the one of Tempestuous Domineering Wyvern, but that's also because he's not playing Vermilion. I feel like this deck does give you 1 to 2 flex spots depending on what kind of grade 1s you play. If you're playing 12 grade 1s, you get 1 flex spot, which can either be the Vermilion or the extra grade 2, or maybe even a Helena. I didn't like Helena when I tried to make it work, so I ended up just cutting it, and I honestly haven't really regretted it. Like, unless you're getting really greedy with your counterblast, you should always have something to do during your turns. You'll always get at least a counterblast from your opponent if they attack you even once. And if you didn't get a counterblast, it's because you're able to guard your opponent, or they didn't have enough things to field, and you can just beat face. Now, the other thing to note is that 2 of these builds are playing fronts, and one of them is not. This one, however, is playing 8 draws. Like, this man wanted to always have a hand for his Drill Dragon, which is fair. I mean, draw triggers in Standard are much better now because of the lack of draw support you have as a whole, and drawing into any of these cards allows you to actually do things. You draw into a Death Scythe, that's removal, or beater. You draw into a Thunderstorm Dragoon, he's removal, he's a beater. You draw into Wyvern, you pull something up, you kill it. I mean, the extra draws actually does make sense. And as far as the whole fronts versus crits thing, I'm still very undecided on which ones I prefer more. I feel like Naras are a deck that you can honestly do either or and still be able to do something with them. Fronts serve a work, I feel, right now because of the format we're in, where you've got more protect decks than force decks out there, and fronts are really useful against Angel Feather and Oracle Think Tank for just making your columns larger. However, I do feel like there is a merit to playing crits as well, as they make it so that your opponent can't just simply no-guard your Vanguard and feel safe about it, because you could just simply flip crits on Drill Dragon, stack them on there, and swing again, and now you've got a 2-crit restanding Vanguard. So, I don't know where this is going to go. This is going to be the part where I think I'll be paying the most attention to. 4 crits, I mean, you can either do 8 crits, or 3 crits, 4 fronts, or 4 crits, 3 fronts, and just, this is where I think the most experimenting is going to be done. So, that's pretty much everything I've got to say in regards to all of this. I am pleased to see that Nara's managed to make at least 3 appearances in these tournaments. However, it is, again, week 1, and we'll have to see over the coming weeks whether or not this is just simply new toy syndrome, or if Narukami are actually a legitimate deck. I do feel that they are, at the very worst, a pretty solid tier 2 strategy, and after Murakumo, they're probably tied with Gold Paladin as one of the best Axel decks out there. The fact that they're able to just simply not care about you can't be retired by card effect cards such as Promise Daughter is kind of a thing. And being able to just permanently out big attackers that decks like Angel Feather would employ is a very thing. Like, being able to just bind cards as a whole is a pretty strong mechanic. Which is why, of course, I'm not exactly pleased that Link Joker is coming in now and doing the same thing, except it gets to bind anything on the board, not just the front row. Yeah, kind of a little tilted. On the other hand, though, I might actually just pick up Link Joker Deleters just because it's, well, I was going to say boneless Narukami, but I guess you can make the argument that Narukami is boneless Link Joker now. It depends, I guess, what the bosses do. In any case, that's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this rather long video, but I had some things I wanted to say, at least in regards to 3 decks that appeared on here.